This is WVUA Law Call.
Welcome in tonight to WVUA Law Call. Here's an interesting statistic. Home is the most dangerous place in America for a woman. Now, that's certainly not what you would think, and it shows just how much of a problem domestic violence really is. Our topic tonight here on WVUA Law Call is domestic violence. It's something that affects millions of families out there, unfortunately, and we're going to talk a lot tonight, a lot of different things about domestic violence. First of all, how the law and domestic violence, how they intertwine, what protections are out there for women when it comes to domestic violence, and the law, what punishments are out there for people who, the abusers, when you're talking about the law. Also, what are programs out there to help victims of domestic violence? There's a lot you can talk about with this topic. We're going to do it all tonight. If you know someone out there who's been a victim of domestic violence, maybe you have been yourself, or maybe you just have some questions, maybe you want to help those who have been victims of domestic violence. Any of that, if that's you, pick up that phone, give us a call. Our number is 205-348-WVUA, 205-348-9882. Also, you can send in an email question to lawcall@wvuatv.com. We've changed that web address. Now it's wvuatv.com. So go ahead, get those questions in. It's assured that this is going to be a popular topic tonight, so go ahead, be the first one to get that question in. We're going to give you just a few moments to do that while we let you know what's ahead for you here in the next few weeks on WVUA Law Call. Next week, May 14th, hurt on the job. It's something a lot of people deal with, and it's especially tough in this tough economy. Then May 21st with all those summer trips, road trips, hurt on the road. That's important for just about everyone these days. And then on May 28th, DUI. Bob.
Yes.
Glad to have you here tonight.
Glad to be here.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, and domestic violence is something that you don't realize how many people are impacted, how serious it is, until you look at the numbers, or, of course, if you know someone who has been a victim, or if you yourself have been.
Right. You know, and it's more than just physical violence.
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
You can be abused by verbally, you know, and intimidation.
Well, we're going to get to all that tonight, but first, I want to show a photo. We always show a photo here that illustrates something, a lesson for folks out there. What does this show? Well,
this shows an automobile that has left the main highway and has rolled over and hit against a tree. But what I wanted the viewers to see is how the roof on this is buckled up. It's called tinting, like a tent. And the significance of it is that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration just recently, after 30 years, has changed the roof requirements, and they've increased the standard, which they should have done. So that'll go into effect in a couple of years, but that will enhance greatly everybody's safety when their car rolls over.
And talking about things, the car, if you certainly you can have a personal injury case against another driver, but you can also have a case against the maker of your vehicle.
Sure, just like in this case, the car that had left the road, you know, that could have just been a simple overcorrection and turned over one time, and the roof shouldn't tint like that.
Sure.
But now when the car collapses, you know, you can get injured from negligently designed or manufactured cars. So when that new regulation goes into effect, the roof will be stronger, and if a manufacturer doesn't live up to that new standard, then they're guilty.
All right, and those are all things that a lawyer, personal injury attorney can help you with.
Exactly.
All right, Bob, well, let's go on and talk about domestic violence here tonight. This is a big topic. We're not just talking, of course, we're talking about the law. We're also talking about ways that victims of domestic violence can get help, and those who want to help them can do that.
Exactly, and it is a big problem because do you have to have a lawyer or not? You know, I know that's going to be one of the topics that we discuss, so we went out and brought in, excuse me for getting tongue-tied, Mike Sullivan. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Bob, glad to be here.
If there's a person that knows about domestic violence and anything related to it, it's Mike. When he graduated from the University of Alabama in 1979?
77.
77. You worked 2 years in Court of Criminal Appeals.
That's right.
And then he went to work for the District Attorney's Office for 27 years.
That's right.
And during that time, he prosecuted domestic violence, sexual abuse type cases. Then after he retired from there, he now is the executive director, and I believe you're the only male executive director of a similar service in the state of Alabama. Is that right?
That's right.
But anyway, he's executive director of Turning Point, and we need to hear about that. But he's got a long resume of being involved in children's issues and spouse battered issues. So welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me here tonight.
Well, welcome, Mike. And we've got those, just as we promised, those phone lines are filling up. But real quickly, of course, we're going to talk about Turning Point, about what that offers to people out there who have been victims of domestic violence. Real quickly, though, before we get to those phone lines, I bet your time as a prosecutor really helped to show you what a problem domestic violence is.
Absolutely. There's no mistake about it. And during the course of my career, I prosecuted many cases of it. Sadly, a number of those were domestic violence homicides. Not only did that include wives, but also children as well, because kids get caught up in this all the time. It's a tragic situation.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to talk a whole lot more about Turning Point, about the issue of domestic violence, and some really staggering statistics out there. But let's go ahead and get to those lines. We've got Barbara in Tuscaloosa on the line. Hi, Barbara. Do you have Barbara on the line? I'm not able to hear Barbara, but let's go on to Jane in Tuscaloosa. Jane in Tuscaloosa. Jane, how are you?
How are y'all tonight?
Great.
Doing good, Jane. What's your question tonight?
Hey, when I was married, I was in an abusive relationship, and I got out of it. I have been divorced now almost 3 years. My son has lost his hearing on account of his father not taking him to the doctor. He may have to wear hearing aids. Is there something we can do to prosecute the father, since I was working at the time and not able to take him to the doctor, and I did call the father and tell him to come and take him, and he refused to do that? Is there something we can do in that issue?
Well, Jane, what you're talking about is a civil question of law, and it's the type of issue that you would need to talk with a personal injury lawyer about. Technically, the failure to give the medical attention that the child is entitled to depends on what was in your divorce decree, what was ordered by the court. Of course, there are many services that are available to you to provide assistance to your child who may need a hearing aid.
And Mike, I was just listening to the question. Wouldn't it be sort of difficult to show the causal connection between not taking the child and the hearing loss? I mean, you'd have to have an expert witness to say that caused his hearing loss.
That is always an issue in any type of case. And it's even a stronger issue if you're talking about a criminal case, because the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty.
All right, and we are glad to hear from Jane tonight, and we're glad to hear that she was able to get out of that abusive relationship.
I certainly am glad to hear that, because many women do not.
All right, and thank you for that call, Jane. Let's move on to Randy on our phone lines. Hi, Randy.
How you doing?
Doing good, Randy. How are you?
Fair.
What's your question tonight, Randy?
My question is, what can be done about someone who uses as a vendetta going down and making false accusations, and they just make them sign an affidavit and a warrant, and they come out and arrest you time and time again, and it's really something, their way of getting into your pocket by having to bail out of jail. And, you know, it's an ongoing thing. It's for, you know, they're using it for a spite. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yes.
All right, what do you tell Randy?
Randy, the best I can tell you is, before anyone is charged with a criminal offense, they have to go before a magistrate in order to get a criminal charge. And of course, once that happens, it is up to the court system. And, you know, I don't know where your case is. If it's in municipal court, a municipal court judge would make the decision on that. If it happens